name is DIAS. I'm 20 years old, and I grew up in the church because of my grandparents. But the relationship with my parents was different. My mother became pregnant of me at 17 years old, and I did not have a relationship with my dad. He left us, and my mother, because she didn't want to have me, she even arranged the money to do an abortion because she didn't want to have a baby. And my grandmother found out, and she was kind of forced to have me. I grew up in church, but I was always an empty teenager, and I never wanted to pay the price to receive the Holy Spirit. So I never was able to surrender myself completely, to empty myself from the feelings, from the things I carried, the scars from the past. I had many complexes. Even though I was in church, I thought I was uglier. I thought I would never be able to achieve anything. And with time, I became a religious person. I even would go to church. I would do the things of the church, sit on the first row. I would fake, well, not really fake. I would speak very well. I would understand very well. I learned how to be of God by what other people would say, but not from having a life with Him. That's when the first fast of Daniel came about. And I did it, but not in the way that it should have been done. I stopped watching TV, and I stopped doing secular things, that's it. I would go to church as normal, but I didn't change my behavior. I just stopped watching TV and stopped doing things that they told me I shouldn't do. That was my fast of Daniel. It wasn't only one, two. It was so many that I lost count. I did all of them. And all of them in the same religious way. My thoughts, they weren't on God all the time. If I were at home, I wouldn't watch anything on TV, but then I wouldn't read the Bible. If I would listen to the message of Bishop Macedo, I would do 1,000 things at the same time, and I wouldn't understand anything. And that's how it's always been, since 2011, when we had the first fast of Daniel, until 2018. I would do it my way, the way that I thought it was right to do. And I became revolted because I didn't want to be like that anymore. I was in the church. I knew about everything. I would hear about God so much, but I didn't know Him. And I said, no, this fast of Daniel is going to be different. In 2018, I heard about the fast of Daniel once more, like in all the other times, but this time was different. I said, my God, these 21 days, I'm going to live them as if they were the last 21 days of my life. I was concerned on my offering to God and giving to God, not to be asking, but to give. What I had to change, what throughout all those fasts of Daniel's I didn't surrender to God. So I started to look at the small details, what I haven't surrendered to God, on how I did things. When I would return the tithe, I would do it like in a religious way, in a very religious way. And I started to say, no, it's the first fruits. It's something that I have to return to God that belongs to Him. It's not mine. So I started to separate the tithe with more care, with more love. I would sit on the first row. Before I would sit wherever I would find, but now I would arrive an hour earlier. It wasn't like in the other fasts of Daniel that I would do whichever way. I really lived it as if they were the last 21 days of my life. And I made of the Bible my map. I wouldn't depend on other people, depend on what the pastor would say in the meeting, no. I had the certainty that God was receiving my offering, that it was pleasing Him. I wasn't really doing my will, I was doing the will of God. And when the last day came, I was a completely different person. The Holy Spirit was not so distant. In these 21 days, I came close to Him through my attitudes. And I said on that day, it's today, the great day arrived. I separated my clothes, I prepared myself, I would look at the clock. I want the time to arrive of the meeting. And the bishop already began the meeting, ministering the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And I went in the front of the altar. And he said, if you left the feelings, everything I did on those 21 days, he said, if you left your feelings, if you did these 21 days like no other, if you really surrendered your life on the altar, the Holy Spirit is there, inside of you. And at that moment, I reflected upon my life and I said, yes, my God, I did that and I believe. And when I said, I believe, It's as if God Himself said, I'm here. And I had the certainty. It wasn't a feeling. I didn't cry. I just had a certainty and a peace, a joy that I wanted to raise my hands and say, Bishop, I was baptized. And I wanted to tell people that it was possible. And there died the religious person, and a woman of God was born. I didn't not only hear about God, but He was living inside of me. The love for souls was not anymore, oh, I have to evangelize. No. Now it's my pleasure to talk to people, to talk about the God that I know now. I know Him now. I read this Bible verse, and it stayed engraved inside of me. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will fulfill all the desires of your heart. I pleased Him. I gave my best. I do it until today. But God did so much more than what I thought, idealized, or dreamt until today. I have peace at home. I have peace wherever I go. I'm able to pass on the spirit that I received during the fast of Daniel. And everything in my life started to flow, move forward. And I tell you that are listening to my testimony, and you have a long time in church and you are complacent and you became comfortable in just coming to church. You heard about this God, but you don't know Him. Do this fast of Daniel in a different way. And in the same way that today I have a life with God because I pleased Him. If you please God in this fast of Daniel, and you don't do it in a religious way, and if you don't do it in a way that you think it should be done, but do it in the way that God is asking you, I'm sure that in these 21 days will not be just one more 21 days in your life, but it will be the 21 days where you're going to